Virgo, let me ask you something before we start. Not rhetorically. Actually, when was the last time someone asked you how you were doing and genuinely wanted to know the full answer, not the social version? Not the quick, how are you that expects fine thanks in return and moves on before anything real can surface. The actual question, the one with space after it. Space for the real answer. For the complicated answer. For the answer that includes both the things that are going well and the things that are not, and the things that are somewhere in between, and the things that are hard to categorize because they are still in the middle of becoming something you do not yet have words for. When was the last time someone held that space for you? I am going to hold it today. This reading is different from the others. Not because it is more important, though it might be more important than you realize right now. Different because it is not about a specific person or a specific situation or a specific question about what is coming from a particular direction. It is about you, the full picture. What is actually going on in your life right now, underneath the functioning, underneath the showing up, underneath the particular Virgo competence that continues to operate even when the interior behind it is complicated, and where all of it is going. The direction, the trajectory, the shape of what your life is building toward, that is a bigger question than most readings attempt. And I am going to attempt it honestly. Subscribe to this channel and drop the word timeless in the comments right now, because this reading is going to find you wherever you are in your timeline. Whether you found it today or a month from now or a year from now. What I am seeing in these cards is not date specific. It is Virgo specific. It is about the particular specific recognizable experience of being the version of Virgo you currently are, and where that version is headed, and what it needs to understand about itself to get there with less friction than the path you have been walking has sometimes required. Let me start with what is actually going on. Not what you tell people is going on, what is actually going on. You are carrying more than is visible from the outside. That is the first and most consistent thing these cards are showing me about your current interior landscape. The specific, multi-layered quality of a person who is managing several significant things simultaneously, some of them practical, some of them emotional. Some of them, the particular kind of thing that does not fit cleanly into either category, because they are both at once while presenting to the world a version of yourself that is competent and grounded and largely okay. The competent and grounded and largely okay is real. I want to say that clearly because it matters. You are not performing those things from behind a facade of difficulty. You genuinely are competent and genuinely are more grounded than most, and genuinely are okay in the functional sense of continuing to operate effectively in your life. These things are true, and underneath them, held with the specific practice discipline of someone who has learned that the full weight of what they carry does not always need to be expressed to be real. There is more. There is the specific, this is also true layer of things that the functioning exterior does not fully capture. Something is in transition. That is the most accurate single description of your current life, not in crisis transition. The specific, uncomfortable, nothing is quite where it is going to land, quality of a period when the old configuration is no longer fully operative and the new configuration has not yet fully formed. When you are standing in the specific, sometimes disorienting middle of something that is becoming something else, when the familiar is becoming less familiar and the not yet familiar has not yet arrived with sufficient clarity to replace it, transition feels like instability. It is not the same as instability. It is the natural, necessary, cannot be skipped process of one version of your life completing itself and another version beginning. And the middle of it, the part you are currently in, is genuinely the hardest part. Not because something is wrong, because something is changing. And change, even change towards something better, has an uncomfortable middle passage. Let me be more specific about the dimensions of what is going on. In your relationships, not just the romantic ones, all of them, something is being recalibrated. You are in the process of understanding more clearly who actually belongs in your life at this level of closeness and who has been occupying that closeness more through habit and history than through genuine current fit. The recalibration is not necessarily dramatic. You are probably not ending things dramatically or having confrontations. More quiet than that, more internal. The specific, I am noticing how I feel in this person's presence, quality of a Virgo who has begun paying more honest attention to their own responses than to the maintenance of the familiar. Some relationships are becoming more important, more real, more worth the specific investment of your most genuine presence. These are the ones that are surviving the recalibration, not because they are without difficulty, but because the difficulty within them is the productive kind. The kind that two people who actually see each other and actually care about each other navigate together as part of the ongoing, living, genuinely invested relationship. Some are becoming less important, not through decision exactly, through the natural settling of something that finds its appropriate level when you stop actively maintaining it at a level above that. Some connections require constant maintenance to stay at a particular level of closeness. And when the maintenance energy is redirected, when Virgo stops putting the effort in that was keeping something at an artificially elevated level of closeness, those connections find their way to the level that is actually their natural one. The settling is not failure, it is honesty. It is what happens when the energy of maintaining something at the wrong level is freed up to go somewhere it actually belongs. In your work and your practical life, the professional dimension, the financial dimension, the building of the material foundation of your existence, something is shifting in the relationship between what you do and what you are compensated for doing it. You have been undervalued. Not dramatically, the situation has not been exploitative in any obvious, name it clearly way. In the specific, gradual, built up over time way of someone whose particular combination of capabilities has been used at a level below its actual market value. Whose specific quality of output has been received as good without being recognized as exceptional? Whose reliable, consistent, thorough presence has been taken somewhat for granted in the way that reliable, consistent, thorough things tend to be taken somewhat for granted when they have been present long enough to be assumed? The taking for granted phase is ending, not because you have finally snapped and demanded recognition. That is not how Virgo tends to operate, and it is not what these cards are showing. Because the accumulated evidence of what you produce has reached a visibility threshold, because the specific quality of your contribution is becoming undeniable in contexts where its denial was previously convenient. Because the market for what you are capable of has shifted in ways that make your particular capabilities more explicitly in demand. What this means practically is that opportunities are approaching that reflect a more accurate valuation of what you bring, not all at once in the incremental. This is how real change happens way of circumstances shifting to produce new openings rather than old situations suddenly transforming into better versions of themselves. Watch for the opportunities that feel like they are asking for more from you than your current context does. The ones that require you to operate at a level that is higher than what has been required recently. The ones that feel slightly intimidating, not because you are not capable of them, but because they are closer to your actual ceiling than what you have been doing, and the closeness to your actual ceiling is less familiar than operating below it. Those are the ones to say yes to. In your inner life, the private, interior, this is where I actually live dimension that most people in your life do not have full access to. Something is happening that is significant and that deserves more of your deliberate attention than you have been giving it. You are in the process of a relationship change with yourself, not with another person, with yourself. The specific, this is how I understand who I am kind of relationship that operates as the foundation beneath all other relationships. The one that determines how you receive care and how you give it, how you understand what you deserve and what you will accept, how you talk to yourself in the quiet moments, and what the quality of that conversation is, and whether it is the conversation you would have with someone you love or the conversation you would have with someone you are not entirely sure, deserves the gentleness you offer others. Virgo's relationship with itself is complicated. I want to say that directly because it is true and because the complication is worth understanding. You are the sign of discernment you see clearly. You see the flaws in things. You see where things fall short of what they could be. You see the gap between the actual and the potential, and that seeing is one of your most extraordinary gifts in every domain, where it is applied to something that can be improved through clear-eyed assessment. The problem is that you apply it to yourself with the same unsparing thoroughness that you apply it to everything else. And the things you see when you apply that clear-eyed assessment to yourself are the things that fall short and the gaps between actual and potential and the places where you are not yet the version of yourself you are working toward. The flaws, the failures, the recurring patterns, the things you wish were different. And you collect these observations with the same thoroughness with which you collect everything else. Store them, return to them. Use them in the internal conversation you have about who you are and whether you are doing it right and whether you are enough. What you collect and store much less thoroughly is the other evidence, the evidence of your capability, your loyalty, your genuine care, for the people in your life, your specific, irreplaceable quality of presence, your work ethic and your integrity, and the particular ways you show up for things and people that most people would not show up for as consistently or as completely. The evidence of who you are when you are at your best, when you are fully yourself, when the capability and the warmth and the thoroughness and the genuine quality of your attention are all present simultaneously. That evidence is also real. It is also true. It is also part of who you are. And the internal conversation you have with yourself about who you are is incomplete without it. The shift that is happening in your relationship with yourself is the beginning of a more complete conversation. One that includes the evidence of your shortcomings because the discernment is valuable and Virgo does not grow by pretending it cannot see what it can see, and the evidence of your gifts in equal measure, with equal thoroughness, with the same quality of honest attention applied to both sides of the picture. That completeness in the internal conversation is what is beginning slowly, imperfectly, in the way that real changes in the relationship with oneself tend to happen not through a single revelation, but through a series of moments in which you catch yourself speaking to yourself in the old way and choose deliberately or semi-deliberately to speak differently. Now let me talk about where you are going, the direction, the trajectory, what the arc of what is currently happening in your life is pointing toward. You are going toward a more honest version of your own life. That is the most precise description of the destination. Not a specific outcome, a specific quality of life, the quality of a life that is organized around what is actually true for you rather than around what you have decided is responsible or practical or what the people whose opinions matter to you expect. Let me be specific about what I mean, because I do not want that to sound like permission for irresponsibility. I mean something much more Virgo compatible than that. You are a person who has developed over the course of your life a significant skill in meeting expectations, in understanding what is needed in a given situation, and providing it, in reading the requirements of contexts, professional, relational, social, and adjusting your behavior to fit those requirements with the specific unobtrusive competence of someone who has made this a practice. You are good at this, extremely good. It has served you in many ways. It has also, in some ways, displaced you. The skill of meeting external requirements has sometimes operated at the expense of the parallel skill of meeting your own internal requirements, of knowing what you actually need as distinct from what you can manage without and providing it for yourself with the same thoroughness you provide what others need from you. Where you are going is toward a version of your life where that displacement is reduced, where the question, what does this situation require of me, runs alongside the question, what do I actually need here, with more equality than it has historically run alongside it, where your own needs and your own direction and your own genuine desires about how your life is organized carry more explicit weight in the decisions you make. This is not selfishness. This is the correction of an imbalance that has been present for long enough to produce the specific, quiet, sometimes barely articulable fatigue of someone who has been giving a great deal and receiving somewhat less than they have been giving. You are also going toward a period of recognition. I want to name this specifically because it is real and because I think you need to hear it from somewhere outside your own internal narrative. The work you have been doing, the building, the thorough, unglamorous, not immediately rewarded building of capability and relationship and the quiet infrastructure of a life that is going somewhere is going to be recognized. Not universally, not by everyone whose recognition you have at various points hoped for, by the people whose recognition matters, by the contexts in which your particular capability is valued for what it actually is rather than for what is most convenient about it. Recognition in the form of opportunities that fit you specifically, that have been designed in some sense with your particular combination of capabilities in mind. That will feel, when they arrive, less like luck and more like inevitability, like the natural consequence of being a particular kind of person long enough for the world to notice. Recognition in the form of relationships, new ones, where the quality of seeing you receive from someone who did not know you before is immediate and specific and slightly disorienting in the way that being accurately seen by a new person is disorienting, where you find yourself wondering how they know, how they have you this precisely after such a short time, and where the answer is that some people are simply capable of seeing clearly, and you have simply become more visible. And recognition in the form of your own acknowledgement of your own work, the internal kind, the specific, finally giving yourself credit for what you have actually done kind that Virgo tends to withhold from itself with a tenacity that would be admirable if it were not so costly. Give yourself the credit in the private space of your own interior, in the honest, this is what I have actually built quality of a person who looks at their own accumulation and lets it be impressive without immediately locating all the ways it falls short of what it could be. It is impressive. Your work is impressive. Your persistence through the periods when it was not producing visible results is impressive. Your quality of showing up for the things and people that matter to you with the thoroughness you bring is impressive. Let it be impressive, not as a stopping point. Virgo does not stop, as the honest, deserved, private acknowledgement of a person who has done real work and who is allowed to know it. What does the next chapter look like? The near future, the specific, this is what is coming quality of what the trajectory is pointing toward. It looks like more aligned. That is the primary quality of what I see when I look at the next chapter for you. Not easier necessarily, more aligned. The specific, this is actually the right fit quality of circumstances that are moving toward a closer match with who you actually are and what you actually need and what your actual capabilities are suited to producing. Relationships that fit, work that uses more of what you have, living arrangements or daily structures or life organization that reflects your genuine preferences more and the accumulated compromises of previous necessity less, the specific quiet satisfaction of a life that has more of your actual self in it and less of the managed meeting requirements version. That alignment is not going to arrive all at once. It arrives the way most good things arrive, gradually, through a series of small adjustments that accumulate into something significantly different from what was there before. through the opportunities that are approaching and the decisions you make about them, through the relationships that are being recalibrated and the ones that are strengthening, through the internal conversation with yourself becoming more complete and more compassionate and more capable of including the full evidence rather than only the unflattering portion. It is building, everything is in motion. The pieces are moving into a configuration that is more genuinely yours than the current configuration. And the movement, while not always comfortable in the transition, is in the right direction. Let me close with something personal, something I want to say directly to you before this reading ends. You have been patient with yourself and with the pace of things and with the specific, sometimes frustrating quality of a life that is building toward something significant, but that has not always given you the visible evidence of the building that would make the patience feel more obviously worthwhile. The patience has been warranted, not because patience is always warranted. Sometimes what looks like patience is avoidance, and the distinction matters. But in your case, in this specific situation of your life, the patience has been the right relationship to have with the pace of things. Because the things that are building in your life are real, and they are substantial, and they are building towards something that is genuinely worth what the building has cost. You are going somewhere good, not a specific place, a specific quality of life. The quality of a life that is more fully inhabited by the person who is actually you, more honest, more aligned, more recognized, more at peace with the specific, irreplaceable individual you are, rather than in the continuous negotiation with the version of yourself that you think you are supposed to be. That life is where you are going, gradually in the specific Virgo way of building it, rather than waiting for it to appear. Through the accumulation of the right choices and the honest conversations and the opportunities met with full capability and the relationships given the quality of presence they deserve, you are already on the path, have been on it for longer than it has felt like the path. Keep going. Tell me in the comments which part of this reading found you most specifically. The part about what is going on or the part about where you are going. Drop timeless if this reading landed in a way that felt personal rather than general. Tell me what transition you are currently in the middle of. Tell me what the thing you are carrying that is not visible from the outside actually is. Tell me what the next version of your life needs to include more of. Because this is the reading where I genuinely want to hear from you, not just to confirm what the cards showed me, because your story matters and the specifics of where you are and where you are going deserve to be witnessed by more than just yourself. You are going somewhere, and it is worth knowing. With everything, Virgo, I will see you in the next one.